other news we have is there were a few other ones. There's
London Irish have
been on a spending spree.
They've been on a spending spree. The obviously newsmaker is Paddy Jackson, and we don't really want to. We're not massively overzealous. Like, I think he was fired for a reason, and sort of bringing him semi back into the fold with European rugby, and then with Irish rugby, because they have that Irish link, is probably a negative. But he's coming in to play some rugby for them.
Obviously Sean O'Brien's going there.
Rugby-based reasons for that call seem baffling to me, in terms of, like, Paddy Jackson has been just having an awful season with Perpignan,
and even
losing
prior to that, like, even though he was in Ireland prior to
that he had his year off, and then prior to that he was just bottling everything.
He's terrible. Like, I've never rated him. He was the second choice to Sexton for quite a while. My prevailing memory of him on the pitch is an attacking set that goes good phase, and then Paddy Jackson picks the wrong pass to a man who gets crunched behind the game line, and then it's start again. That's like my prevailing picture of how his attacks go.
Yeah, so that's definitely a weird signing. Like, there's a lot about London Irish that makes me think that it's going to go wrong. And
the fact that it's Declan
Kidney and Les Kiss, the old Irish dream team of horrors past.
One Grand Slam defeats from basically Eddie O'Sullivan's team, but with a new lease of life.
Yeah, and with a bit of a kick up the hole and a bit of a we're a team now.
Yeah, which was like good man management, but then when it came down to the actual coaching and building and World Cup cycle, which was the next year and year and year, dreadful. Yeah,
dreadful. And those two did harm when they were there, and while they were in the Ireland job, and I suspect it's not going to go well for them again. They do have they're trying to get a nice Irish identity to them.
Which is
they're
probably
replacing of Topsy Ojo, which is the other big news. Topsy Ojo is retiring, and the replacing of him with Waisaki Naholo is probably a step up.
It is
to say the least.
Thorough step up. Waisaki Naholo.
That is a
steal for them.
Incredible signing.
I can't quite fathom how that's managed to happen. It'll be Sean O'Brien offloads to Paddy Jackson to Witten to Naholo. What?
Is it Witten up there?
I think Witten.
Brendan Mackin. I know.
Oh, is it Mackin? Okay, yeah. Another quality. He's actually former Leinster man, though.
Yes,
Witten is still with Exeter, maybe.
I have no idea where Witten is.
I think so.
Or what he's doing.
But yeah. So yeah, that'll be a mad mix. Naholo out there. Will he get a little telepathy going on?
I don't know.
Sean O'Brien
it's
and
definitely
Naholo.
The best news to come out of there, because like an aged Sean O'Brien with controversial / not particularly good Paddy Jackson, and that's controversial to say the least. And then, some middling Irish players, a questionable coaching ticket, and then all of a sudden Waisaki Naholo could be a game changer, but he could also be isolated as Piatao has been in teams gone by.
So many.
It could be a negative for him, but that's London Irish are making a move to try and stay in the Premiership for sure.
This is it,
and that'll be a curious picture for next season. Next season we will not be graced with the presence perhaps on our European TV screens with the great Mathieu Bastareaud, because in cool news and interesting news, and potentially the very beginning of a shaking up of the established order in domestic rugby, Mathieu Bastareaud is off to play in the Major League Rugby for, I don't know, the New York whatever he does. The New York didgeridoos.
Yes. And, but that is interesting. That is an interesting precedent set, you're right in saying, because I don't know how old Mathieu Bastareaud is, but
old enough to continue, young enough rather to continue playing.
This is it. So I'd imagine for the first couple of seasons he's just going to be tearing it up, a la like Zlatan in that football league.
Well, by all accounts, young Cathal Marsh, from Leinster, who was like 4th choice 10, I always rated him, but he's gone off to play in that league, and by all accounts he's tearing it up, making player of the months and everything else. So I mean, Bastareaud surely will not be dealt with.
No, they won't be able to handle that. Some of those kind of mediocre club level centres just getting.
You talk about the Major League Soccer that they have over there, where they have whatever LA Galaxy. That's essentially what they want Major League Rugby to be on that level. They're just they're not even there yet, but that's the ambition, because that's a pretty big league. They get some big names. It gets some eyeballs. It's something that players like to win and don't do.
And that's like, it's only the first year, isn't it, of the Major League Rugby this year?
I think second.
Is it second? Okay, and it's just growth phase. They're trying to pilfer a few players from over.
The only problem that they have is they're competing with a Japanese league that's doing the exact same thing with the Kiwi boys in the Pacific. So it's going to be a little harder to siphon off France Super Rugby players. But
Or just go to South Africa where they just produce endless players,
Yeah,
so you can
that's
just
true.
get a load of them over.
But what they really want is stars, and Bastareaud is someone you can certainly brand as a star,
For
whether
sure.
or not he is.
Should be getting some Fijians.
Yeah,
Get some Fijians in there.
they will. I mean,
They will.
there's plenty of them.
Yeah.
So that's just an interesting little.
It is. I think that is, like you're saying, it could be the beginnings of just a new look to things. When the Major League Rugby over there starts to have teams that consist of you're looking at a few former players from a few nationalities.
They have some work to do with the guys who are working in that league on grassroots level, just getting bums on seats, getting people caring and going to these games.
Yeah.
They're doing a decent job so far, but they need to keep it up, and then sort of if they can get crowds that are comparable to Pro 14 crowds at the game of whatever 4,000 to 5,000 for these games, that would be massive. It'd be huge for them. And then obviously there's the next thing of broadcasting it and getting it watched. But I mean, there's infinite ways in the modern world to broadcast these things, whether you want to stream it or whether you want to go through whoever will take it. There's a lot of it's all up in the air, but there's a lot of potential there. It all sort of hangs on whether or not they can get some grassroots support from American towns and cities.
Yeah, some more so than others. Obviously, I think Texas is a bit of a hot
Texas, they like it. Yeah, they go and see the American games up in Texas and in California as well.
And watch the Sevens when it comes around as well. And
in Vegas. So out there southwest, I guess, and that seems to be a hotbed for it.
But yeah, it's the beginnings of phase. Get America involved.
Yeah.
And it's a better way of doing it than just randomly throwing hodgepodge games or try and come up with this international league that's going to have the States getting hammered by a load of boys. No, none of that. You have to get their own grassroots first and then build from there.
Yeah.
From the ground up, as Leinster put it.
Yeah,
which is
100%.
good. Yeah.
And James Haskell, our
Retired.
podcast competitor,
yes, indeed,
is retiring from rugby to full-time take us on.
Yes, House of Rugby.
House of Rugby, that's his one, isn't it?
Yes, it is, Yeah, no, I like Haskell, and he's been a stalwart servant.
He's been a very solid player, and he's been everywhere. He went and played Super Rugby, he went and played France for a bit, so he's had a great career, and he's going to be...
he's been a Lion.
He's been a Lion.
It's probably one of the highlights of his career, certainly.
But he's
got to room with Sean O'Brien and torment him.
He's been a thoroughly colourful character on the World Rugby arena now for the guts of a decade, and he'll be a good servant to the game in his own way, and a pretty nifty player when he got going. I mean, he had his negatives. I never thought he was a 7.
No,
he was
they
put
kept
at 7
him at 7
a lot.
He
I never thought he was never a 7.
He's not the right body type for it.
Yeah, but he was a good back row forward, a good 6, and well worth a career well worth looking back on with pride and happiness.
Sure. I was even looking at a few of those House of Rugby things, and he was talking all year about getting back, but it felt like, it was a reach. He was in rehab mode, but wasn't necessarily going well, was what my inference was anyway, from just the way he was saying what he was saying. But he was optimistic initially around Christmas, reviewing games, but thinking he's going to be back in the mix, and it seems to have not worked out for him, which does just happen. Like, he's such an attritional player. Like, the back row is
and sometimes something goes wrong with your body, and then you just can't get it right. It'll never be right, and you can't.
Well, considering what right means for these guys,
you can't do what a game of rugby does to your knee.
Yeah.
You can't do that to your knee anymore because your knee's whatever. I'm not sure if it's his knee, but that's just an example.
Exactly. You may be able to live a perfectly healthy life and go hiking and whatnot, but it's just
what a game of rugby does to it. You can't do that anymore.
Exactly. So best of luck to him in his retirement, and was an absolute great servant.
And just before we wrap up, we have some World Cup news. Scotland have sort of preemptively gone and picked a World Cup squad out of nowhere.
It seems a bit
in early May. Gregor, calm down.
Gregor's just getting excited.
He's getting all excited. He can't sleep. He just wants to name. So they named a provisional squad of 43 players with an option to add a couple more. And the only real news is that the omissions of Duncan Weir and Richie Gray.
Duncan Weir is at Worcester
Worcester
now. I'm not surprised by his omission.
It doesn't.
Richie Gray, though, has been having a great season.
Third choice 10 for them. Peter Horn. Blech.
But I would argue Duncan Weir, even more.
You're probably right.
So you have your Finn is you're putting all your eggs in the Finn basket anyway. And then Hastings is like a little diet Finn. Should that go wrong, and then Horn is a bit more so like he's
an even dieter.
But it's a similar mold, you know. It's all based on the
game.
Finn game
but
plan.
that's the thing, is that it's not going to work without Finn because he's the man who picks the passes and does the things.
It's true.
But so Duncan Weir's not a massive omission, but Richie Gray's a questionable one.
He is, yeah. He's had a great season for Toulouse. Yeah.
He's looking good and fit.
Toulouse are playing loose attacking rugby as well. He's involved in a good attacking side, so you'd think Scotland want to be a good
He's exclusively a second row, and they do have a lot of them.
True.
So they gone for probably Skinner, can play either from Exeter, and then they also have Gilchrist and Toulouse and Johnny Gray.
Yeah,
so
it's true. Yeah,
competitive area.
Competitive for them. Yeah, they have a lot of quality.
Yeah.
It's a weird one to name it this soon though, and lots changed.
I just wonder if is anyone else going to follow suit. Is this something that's going to happen now?
I don't know. I don't know why it would. It's all kinds of work, World Cup warm.
I feel like they need to be going on a bit of holiday.
Well, Glasgow haven't even played their last two games.
Yeah, and Edinburgh need a break. Always need a break.
It's mental. But the other thing that was named for the World Cup, which I suppose makes more sense naming it this far out, is the refs, the officials for the thing. And it's kind of the usual suspects. A few questionable inclusions as well as questionable omissions.
There's definitely a load of French in there. Poit, Reynal, Gozer, Garcez. That's 4 French referees, at the expense of a nice little Marius Maitreya from Italy, who I feel like has probably deserved it.
Well, considering Poit shouldn't be there at all from where we're sitting at. I don't know what World Rugby
Roman
has
Poit
going on.
And Andre Ruiz as an assistant ref, and Jaco Piper are for me the most questionable calls. Apparently Glenn Jackson's upset and is thinking about changing job after it. He's not the biggest omission though for me. That is Marius. The only thing is that for final contenders we have probably Garcez, Wayne Burns, Angus Gardner and Nigel Owens, and they're all very good refs.
Yeah.
And Wayne Burns would be the front runner, I think, to get the final.
Yeah.
Because he's probably not got too many years left in him.
True. And barring England making a run and getting to the final, I would think Wayne Burns probably. I wouldn't begrudge him.
No.
I would begrudge Poit. You can't give him big games. I begrudge him being there. He's ruined too many good big games. See Lions Tour for reference, many others.
Yeah, the Bismarck Duplessis red card, and then Leinster Pro 12 final back in the day against Ospreys. Highland Cup final in 2011 he wasn't great in. So he's had a lot of bad days.
Bad big days.
Yeah, for sure.
And
he won't. Surely he won't be put in charge of the final. I don't think he's a true contender. I think Garcez is, and I think
you say that, but every time I see him have a reffing game, I'm like, well, that's it. They have to get rid of him now. It's just too bad. That's his last game ever reffing at the top tier, and then he's just there next week.
Yeah,
and it's like, why? We make deal, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, I do think ultimately that 4 that I named are probably just the top tier.
Yeah.
But there's always a danger of Jaco or Roman getting a big game, which you wouldn't like.
It's going to be scary the week of when you're reading who's our ref for the big game.
There are some good refs in there as well. Though Gozer I don't dislike, Ben O'Keefe I don't dislike. Luke Pearson, Nick Berry haven't done much to offend me. It's a fine crop of officials. And the bigger question even than just the individual officials is whether they clarify what's going on with the rules. If they're going to change any rules or if they're going to go in with rules, they have to do that soon. They have to make it, as soon as the season ends, they have to make it eminently clear what's going to be okay, what's not going to be okay.
Are we going to be hearing more words like dynamic? And what's some of those ones in terms of collisions?
It's contacts in the
contact
air,
intent.
And contacts with shoulders. Is intent a factor? Is it not a factor? What constitutes a dangerous tackle? The last thing that they want is a big negative headline from this World Cup around dangerous contacts with the whole thing about concussion. But they also don't want negative headlines about a crazy red card that ruined a game.
Yes, indeed.
So it's a difficult balance to get, and they need everybody, referees, assistant referees, TMOs and players and coaches to be on the same page about what you can and can't do, and that needs to be done quickly.
One thing that seems to have changed is that the Cipriani precedent that was set at the start of the season has been changed.
Yeah, thoroughly.
Because I think that was a mistake by your man.
No, but my point is that it wasn't just a mistake. It was that rule taken to its farcical extreme. But in the early runnings of the Pro 14, they had well established that in a tackle, if your shoulder makes contact with the head, it's red. They had established that is the rule this year. And now it just seems like every time something like that happens, the refs are chatting to TMOs about all kinds of mitigating factors.
Indeed.
He was kind of dipping and stumbling and falling and rolling. I don't know.
Intent? Did he intend to do it. I don't know if he did.
Could we ask him?
Yeah. You didn't mean that, did you? Oh, right.
Yeah.
So it's like, what is the law?
Yeah,
Come on.
exactly.
Actually, it was relieving to see in that Sarries game again, the Sarries Exeter one, where there was a contact in the air that was a bad tackle from...
and your man came down on his side.
And the ref just said exactly what the law.
Yeah, the ref was chatting to the TMO. The guy came down on his side, and some of the commentators were like, I think that could be red. It's really violent or whatever. And he was just like, they articulated the law as I understand it to be true, and then gave a decision
Yellow card.
based on that, and it was a yellow card because he came down on his side, not his head. And I was like,
it was hitting the
that's
air.
my first
mistimed.
experience of a in any game in recent weeks of a dangerous tackle incident where the refs are speaking the language that I understand to be the law.
Indeed, without throwing in mad words,
just crazy mitigating. I don't know what.
So that's what we want to avoid in terms of the World Cup. We want to get that clear
confusion.
Yeah.
It's like, because like one ref is just like, no, shoulder to the head is red, and the next week it's like, but he was dipping and moving and weaving, and then it's like, so it's not a red.
Yeah.
And then it's like, so what was that first ref on about? Who's right? And
I don't know.
That's what they need to clarify, and that all needs to be done ahead of the World Cup. But ultimately, we're getting ahead of ourselves. This week is not about the World Cup.
It's not about the World Cup.
It's about Leinster. It's about Saracens. It's about the game of
European showcase of rugby.
Yeah, the two best teams in Europe are going at it in the final, and it's
finally
not every year that you can say that.
This is it. Yeah. They've missed each other for the last few years, with the exception of last year. But it was a different quarter-final away from home.
The very fact that Saracens didn't win a home quarter-final will tell you that they were a little off where they usually would be.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. Whereas this year
they did have Clermont in their group, though. That was their irritating.
Talking about mitigating factors.
Yeah.
As opposed to Glasgow.
This year.
Yeah.
Who were nowhere near as pernickety.
It's true. It's true. But so it's going to be some showcase of rugby. He's going to be at it, unfortunately. I'm going to be watching from
Second
here.
Final in a row, baby.
Yeah, good man. But yeah.
Fourth final overall. No fifth. Toulouse, Perpignan, Leinster, Northampton.
Oh yeah, we did
too long Clermont, and Leinster Racing, Leinster Saracens. 5 of the European finals I've been at. That's a good humble brag. Not humble brag. There's an arrogant brag.
Humble brag. It's
just a brag.
Get that humble out of there.
I was just thinking, is there a word that'll soften the bragging that I'm doing? But no, there isn't really.
Thank you very much for watching that video. If you're new here, please like and subscribe down below, and leave a comment as well, because we enjoy the chat and conversation. Thank you.